Hello and welcome to Books and Beyond. I'm Jimmy Bennett, your host, and my show, Books and Beyond, is a show where we hope to let people personify their aspirations. And today, I hope your aspirations is good eating, because I have my friend and boss Bryan Yemma here from McQuade's Marketplace, and we're going to do a cooking show. Obviously, we have a couple of great things for you today. We're going to show you an appetizer, crostini, and a charcuterie board.
A charcuterie board, yes.
Yep, which are great for Valentine's Day or Super Bowl coming up at the end of the week. So pay attention. And then I'm going to make something that I've never actually shared with anybody before, but it's my Lobster Madeira. And I think you're going to love it, but we'll get to that a little later. I'm going to let Bryan start off with the crostinis, and we'll take it away. First, though, we want to thank Mike McQuade and McQuade's Marketplace for sponsoring us and giving us the opportunity to do this, and, of course, Frank and SEC TV. So let's move along.
All right. Well, first off, thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure to be here. As Jim said, we're getting close for Valentine's Day, Super Bowl, and everyone's looking for things that they can do that are quick and easy, and for an appetizer either on Valentine's Day or for a quick, easy snack on Super Bowl. So I thought a nice roast beef crostini would be nice. It's a really, really nice appetizer, and it would be perfect for a Valentine's Day setting or a Super Bowl setting. It's definitely a little upscale. It's past the fried foods that people would
Chicken
typically
wings,
go.
chili dip sauce.
And it's more of a little elegant appetizer, so it could easily fit right in on the Valentine's Day. These are the crostinis that we did. We take a French baguette and we slice them about a half-inch thick, I'd say. And we use a butter, and we season our butter. We brush it, and then we just toast these in a pan till you get like a crouton consistency. So you want almost like a nice crunch. So when you bite into it, it's crunchy on the outside, and there might just be just a slight chew on the inside, which is actually a really nice texture contrast when you have that crunch with that chew. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these crostinis that we did at McQuade's before we got here, and depending on how fancy you really want to get, you could, some people roast off tenderloin for this and slice tenderloin really thin. But money being tight nowadays and everybody trying to pinch pennies and save where they can, this is just as good with a nice, I'm using our store roast beef from McQuade's, but a nice thin sliced roast beef is perfect on this. So I like a nice rare roast beef preferably. I think it's the most flavorful and you're going to get the best bang for your buck with it. But obviously if you're not into red meat, you can do this with a more cooked piece. So I take the thin cut roast beef and I'm going to pile it right onto these pieces of meat. Not really so it's overhanging, because I want it to be nice, easy to grab with your hands, not too messy, something that people can just grab with their fingers and eat in 1 to 2 bites.
And you could put a lot of different things on crostini. You can put tomato and fresh mozzarella, fresh basil. You can turkey. It's endless. Whatever you really like.
And you can use not just. I'm going to be using a horseradish cream sauce, but you can spread cream cheese. You can spread. Aiolis.
Yep.
Anything you can. Again, with all the stuff really with cooking, and the reason why I think me and you love cooking so much is the options are endless, and you can go as far as your mind can take you.
And you can make it yours.
And you can make it yours. So I don't need to make too many of these. I think I'm going to just make 6 up really quick here. And again, I think I only got 5 slices of roast beef here. With this, a little meat goes a long way. You could get a half pound, and you should be able to do almost 20 crostinis if you want to spread it right.
Right.
And then what I got a horseradish cream sauce. Now, if you wanted to make this yourself, you could do it. You could get some ground horseradish, mayo, sour cream, put a little Worcestershire sauce in there, a little salt, pepper, maybe a little splash of Tabasco, and you can make a really, really nice horseradish cream sauce. Again, everybody's time sensitive, and we're trying to move things along. So Boar's Head actually makes a pretty good horseradish cream sauce, which I'm going to use today. So after I put the roast beef down, I squirt a little of this on here, on the roast beef. Now, I don't put this on the bread like you would a sandwich because you want that crostini to hold that nice crunchy texture.
Yeah.
And if you put this on it and it sits around too long, your crostini is going to get a little soggy, which what we're trying to avoid. So I'm going to take a little, and we're going to put a dab on each one of these. And like I said, not everyone likes horseradish, but horseradish complements beef very, very well. So that's why we're using this one today.
Oh yeah, horseradish and beef.
And then, again, what I like to do, I always like to take it. You could eat them just like this, and some people put them out just like this. That simple. But to jazz it up even a little bit more, I got some microgreens, and this is actually a citrus blend microgreen. And anything when you're taking a little citrusy flavors and you're mixing that in with the beef and the horseradish, now you're just taking these levels to the next extreme. So to finish this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these microgreens.
Like Bryan said too, the possibilities are endless. You can put almost anything, little blue cheese crumbles on that. And like I said, you can use all different types of meats and
then we got
cheeses and vegetables.
But you can get through this appetizer by going and buying one French baguette, a half a pound of roast beef, probably even less than that, maybe even a quarter a pound. You know, the horseradish cream sauce and the microgreens. Chances are you already have the butter and the spices in your house to brush the baguette with. And obviously you already have the pan to toast them.
You melt a little olive oil too with the butter. It makes a nice, nice spread for the crostinis.
And you'll take your risk of burning it down a little bit by mixing a little olive oil in there. So pretty much in that amount of time, we made some nice crostini appetizer, a roast beef crostini with a citrus microgreen on top. Quick, easy, delicious.
Right.
All right, well, we're moving right along. On to the next thing, which I'm kind of excited about, is we're going to build a charcuterie board. A lot of people think it's really hard to come up with something nice. It does get a little overwhelming at times because people think a lot goes into it. No, I'm not going to lie, charcuterie boards can get pricey, and it all depends on what you want to put on it. But people like to put, you know, let's face it, dried meats, cheeses, they're all expensive, and depending on how fancy you want to get, it's going to be depending on what you're going to spend on that stuff. So Jim and I, in our previous shows, have showed you how to do a couple of our garnishes with our vegetables. So Jim made this beautiful onion blossom before he came in today. That we're going to use this as almost the centerpiece of this charcuterie board. And if you're curious on how to make any of these things, you could go back to previous shows and look at that. So I'm going to start building this out. And I also got one bunch of kale. So the kale is going to be, for the color contrast, we're going to lay that down around the platter. And we're going to work around our centerpiece. So I'm probably going to put the kale down first.
Now the one we're making here would be for a little bit more of a crowd, right? I mean,
this is more, I would say, Super Bowl. Like this is,
like more of a Super Bowl kind of thing. But you know, you can make them smaller, which is it's a lovely appetizer. It's nice to have a drink, pick away at the foods and chat a little bit, that kind of thing. Get to know your Valentine a little.
So when I always set my centerpiece first of what I want to put on my charcuterie board. I put that in there first, and now I know what I'm going to be working around. Now, the other thing with a charcuterie board is you want to make sure you have almost different levels and not everything just sitting on there on the platter. So obviously, you probably have fancier stuff at your house than these plastic containers, but I brought a black container. I brought one of these clear containers, and I brought a couple of things that you wouldn't necessarily always think to put on charcuterie boards. One would be these nice pepperdew peppers. So what I'm doing is I am getting my centerpiece and then the 2 other or 3 other big main pieces that I'm going to have to be working around. I
Right.
put that down first. Then I can figure out my placement on those and how I'm going to work around them. So I'm going to take these pepper dews and I'm going to put them in this container right here. And Jim,
You know, don't be afraid to try some different stuff. I mean, they sell a lot of different types of olives, peppers, pickled onions, anything. And they're pretty small things, and you can, you know, if you don't eat them all up on your charcuterie board, you can use them in other dishes and stuff like that. So, Brian, the other night, what was that olive we ate?
we had a tangerine marinated with red pepper flake olive.
And I don't even like green olives, and these things were delicious. They were really fantastic.
This is a fig spread. This is going to complement the cheeses that we're going to put on, and it's going to go with the crackers. So when you have this board, it's just another nice piece that people, again, something that you wouldn't think to get, but you can find this usually right with all your gourmet cheeses. Everybody usually sells it. They'll have different kinds of spreads. Jim's going to work on a tomato rose for me.
I showed you how to do this the last one of the shows before, but basically you just start at the bottom of the tomato, make a circle, and then run the knife around the edge of the skin. You got to be careful not to break the skin or cut it through so it falls apart.
Now, depending on allergies with people, another nice thing to find on a charcuterie board is some spiced nuts, some kind of nut. Maybe it's a coated almond, or I'm using a sea salt and cracked pepper peanut. Just something different that, you know, sets your charcuterie board a little apart from everybody else's. Now again, if you have some nice glassware at your house, some small little serving things, some ceramics, it would make it even look nicer than what I'm doing here. I'll set this one in the back. So now we got the pepper dews, we got our nuts, we got our fig spread. Those are pretty much the big components. Now I'm going to tuck a little bit more of my kale around some of these items. Cover some of the, I don't really want to see much of the yellow from this platter. I want everything to be covered pretty much.
Now this is the way the tomato looks. You know, after I peeled it out, here's the bottom of the tomato. Just went around the sides of the skin till I got to the top. And then we'll just roll it up.
The tomato rose I learned from you, Jim.
I gotta lay this down.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Then the bottom of the tomato makes the bottom. Where would you like that, Brian?
I mean, you're going to put it right in your thing?
I put it right in that little.
And he already
a
made the
little
pepper
holder?
for it for earlier.
Yep.
And now he's got a beautiful little flower that we're going to put right. I'm going to move my last piece of kale, and we're going to set that right on our board right here. Okay. So now we got all the main pieces. So Jim, if you want to help me,
All right.
I brought a few different cheeses that I had already cut up. And the other important part of a charcuterie board is I like to have some things whole that you can cut yourself with a knife.
Right.
So I brought a block of blue cheese. And I brought a little thing of brie. These two I generally leave. I might start crumpling the blue a little bit on a plate or on there, but I leave these whole and I let the people kind of cut these themselves. That is an everything bagel cheddar.
Oh.
We have our Colby Jack cheese here.
And it's always nice to, you know, if you just take a little time to lay them out instead of just dumping them on the board, it looks nicer and it's much easier for people to pick up too.
And the thing, these are actually really fun to build. You know, you can get creative with it. I mean, the options are endless.
Especially cheese, you can crisscross them, lay them on their sides.
Pile
in
them high.
circles, yep.
So look at that. We look at that pile right there. So we used up 2 of the cheeses. No, this is a Gouda. This is it was a truffle Gouda. We're gonna put that on this side of that. And let's open up this blue cheese. We'll put that right in the front.
All right.
The hardest part of when doing these charcuterie boards is not eating it all before
Yes.
you put it on the board. Because if you're like me, I could have a whole meal of just some good cheeses,
Yep.
some nice peppers, give me a loaf of Italian bread.
Where did you want to put that?
We'll take this and we'll put this right here in
All
the
right.
front like that. And then if you don't mind opening that one up for me,
Yep.
and we'll kind of point that one in the opposite direction, or we might want to switch
Yeah,
that
that's the
up.
hard part. You know, you start picking away at it when you're making it, and then you're done, and you're like, you don't want it anymore. But that's all right. That's what you have guests for. And like I said, if you want to make something a little bit more intimate for like Valentine's Day, you can just use less meats, smaller pieces of cheese, and then whatever you think your partner would like too.
All right, so now we have laid out all of our cheeses. I believe we did 5 different cheeses on here. So we got our 5 cheeses, we got our nuts, we got our pepperdew peppers.
Right.
So what we have here is we have some sliced pepperoni. That's just right from the stick that I sliced myself. And then I got some uncured soppressata, which is a dried sausage. Now, I'm from Westerly, so if I was making this charcuterie board, I'd be using some good soupy. But
Yep.
this is the next best option for me. But now we're gonna fill in between next to where some of these cheeses are with the dried meats. And the same thing, you know, layer it out so it makes it easy for people to grab them, and so it's aesthetically pleasing.
Oh.
And then, you know, like I said, you can get as fancy as you want. I got a couple of these. You can make these yourself if you wanted to. You can get them pre-made, but these are a couple pepperoni, mozzarella rolled in pepperoni. And it's a nice little stick too. So you can take these, and that allows you to get another dimension almost with this cheese, because now you can stick them up, and you can do another way of presenting them.
Nice, very nice.
And now to finish this off and to put the last touches on this, we just have a couple things. Yep. I like to do some dried fruit sometime. There's another nice little touch that most people wouldn't put on a board. But I got some dried apricots. And something like this will just, again, they're beautiful in color. Place a couple right on there. And you can place these all the way around in different spots. These don't have to stay in one spot. This is something that's going to attract your eye to multiple places on this board. So you can throw some dried fruits in there. And then we also got some whole strawberries.
I also have some strawberries that we cut and fanned out.
Now
Make a nice little garnish.
and with the fruit, doesn't have to be strawberries. You could get grapes on the vine and put a thing of grapes right there. That would look really nice. There's a lot of things you could do. And that right there.
And that is a charcuterie board.
And that is a charcuterie board. Beautiful. You will not, anybody will be complimenting you on your board if you took something like that to any party.
And it's great for any occasion. Like we said, we're gearing a little bit towards Super Bowl now, and it's Valentine's Day. But it's good for any occasion, any family gathering, any friend gathering, anything.
Anything.
So
absolutely,
it's got a little something for everybody. I think it's like one of the best layouts you can have. So
definitely a centerpiece of any table.
Yeah.
You know. All right, Jim.
All right. Let's get ourselves a little organized here.
Yep. I will move on over, and you start taking over.
All right. So I'm hoping that what you'll take out of this is that this is stuff that you can do. You might see it out. You might think, oh, my God, that's it. But you can actually do this, all right? You can do it at home. You can impress your friends and your family. And I just think everybody should try to do a little bit of this type of cooking in their life and try to garnish. It's just a good habit. It's healthier. It's less expensive. And I think you'll find that it's really a lot of fun. It brings out a lot of creativity in you. So now, next one we are going to do is our famous Lobster Madeira. I'll give you a little history of this. Lobster Madeira, I probably started running this on my menus back in 1979, that long ago. Originally this was Lobster Madeira, which we're going to do today. It's a beautiful, elegant dish, but it's not really, really too hard to make. And I have sold, me and a friend of mine were talking about it, and a friend of mine, JR, who's a chef, and we estimated over the 20 or 30 years that we had on our menu that we probably sold somewhere between 30 and 40,000 of these, which is like an incredible number, but we're talking a lot of years. But, 4, 5, 10 a night, I mean, it gets up there. So, anyways, I have a non-stick pan here. And I'm going to turn on the trusty burner, and I'm going to put it down to about medium right now. I'll put the pan on there and let it warm up a little bit. So to start this dish, we have chopped garlic. I want to say you want to use about a tablespoon. You don't want too much because you don't want to overpower the dish, but the garlic will give it a nice little kicks it up a notch, adds a lot of great flavor. And you can start it with oil if you need to, but I prefer not to. Maybe just a little bit of butter, but if you have a nice non-stick pan, you really don't need much. And then we have Madeira. Madeira is a Spanish dessert wine. It's been around for century upon centuries. What you want to put in there, now you want to put about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of lobster juice, and then about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of Madeira. You can always add a little bit more if you want to strength to it, and if you're worried about the alcohol content, don't, because it will, the alcohol will actually burn out. And then we're going to add in about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of quartered mushrooms. And we're going to let that cook. We used to sell so many of these, Bryan, that
I can already smell it.
we used to sell so many of these that, like I said, John Roy, the chef I worked with then, he would actually take stainless steel pans like 6 high and put them on a burner and light the burner. and he would just keep those pans hot all night long.
Oh.
So when he took them off, he just put the stuff in there. It was like instantly started cooking.
Make sure you have a rag in your hand when you're grabbing those pans.
Yeah, because we used to sell so many.
Yeah, but you know, anyone that hasn't ever worked in a kitchen, or anyone that has would know, it's when you're going at that high volume, anything to shave some seconds off of what you're putting out, I mean, it really helps.
Yeah.
So if you can have 6 pans that are all hot, ready to go, that you can just, you know, you're saving minutes. And minutes equates to people being a lot happier.
Yep.
To your tickets going out a lot faster, and
yeah, we've all been there, man,
know,
with that line of tickets going across the thing and the machine's still going off. All right, now what I have here is heavy cream. So we have the mushrooms, the lobster juice, the garlic, and the Madeira, and that's all simmering along nicely. And then we're going to add in the heavy cream. About 1 cup. Now this is for making like a single serving, so you can double it up if you want to make a little bit more, but I mean this makes a big serving. So it's enough to share really, but if you feel like you need more, but I would not recommend at one time trying to do more than 2 orders.
Whenever you start with the heavy cream and you try reducing it to getting it to a certain consistency, what I find, I've tried to mimic things that I've done in a restaurant where you're doing your single pan things. It works great like that. But if you try to take that and make a batch for 6 at your house, sometimes it doesn't reduce and hit that same consistency.
No, it does. I don't know why it just doesn't work that way.
It just doesn't. And I think it has to do with the surface area being spread out over the pan. And you know, we're using a big pan, so that you know it's really thin. But it's something that I would say you do 2 batches at most. And if you need to do more than that, then you're working 2 pans at a time, and you're just doing it like that.
Now this reducing is something, maybe we should talk about that a little bit, because I think people hear the term and stuff, maybe they don't understand it or understand how it works. But when you're taking heavy cream and you put it on a high heat like this and it starts to boil, basically you're evaporating the water out and you're leaving the cream and the natural fat and stuff like that for the milk. So that's why it'll thicken up. And it will thicken up quickly. And the only thing I would say about when you want to make any kind of a reduced cream meal, like Alfredo's the same way.
Yeah.
Right? You start with butter, cream, a little wine, garlic, and stuff like that. You just reduce it down. Then you add the Parmesan cheese in. But one thing you want to do is you do kind of want to work it. It's not the kind of thing that you want to walk away from.
No, if you're not working it and you just let it boil, it can separate on you.
Yes.
And then you'll lose the sauce, and essentially you're going to have to start the whole sauce over. Again, you see it's a quick process, but starting it over at your house and starting it over in a restaurant when you're busy, 2 different things. You know, I don't know who would be more mad at you. Customer or your wife.
Yeah.
But you don't want either mad at you.
Yeah. You don't want either one waiting for dinner. And the other thing is, too, is if you work it, you can get little flecks of brownness, little, not quite burnt, but you know what I mean? Yep. And it's just not as attractive. Well, this brings back memories. I haven't made this in a while.
You know, I know people that they're so want the nice look of that they won't even put black pepper in that. They'll use white pepper to hide any black pepper flakes. Yep. And, you know, some people are very, when they have a white sauce, they don't want to see any black flecks for, you know, people might thinking that it's dirt or whatever they would think. So whenever they use a white sauce, even when they make mashed potatoes, they'll use a white pepper so you don't see any of that stuff. Now, I've always been a nice, coarse black pepper kind of guy. Yep. But
well, I'll tell you,
each their own, and everybody,
it's a shame that they don't have smell-o-vision, because this stuff is really starting to smell fantastic.
It's delicious.
We're getting very, very close here.
I'm sure some of these cheeses from the charcuterie board would probably be good dipped right in there.
Oh, yeah. And look, I mean, let's face it, lobster has gone through the roof. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
So maybe for a special occasion, for that special someone on Valentine's Day or something, that's all right. But you can do this with scallops. You can do this with chicken. You can use other things
Right.
in it. You
What's
know,
your protein? Use
once
the same sauce.
once you know how to do the sauce, you know, and even if you didn't add a meat into it, it makes it a nice sauce just to pour over chicken and rice or anything like that.
You know, and if you were making a single serving of this and you were cooking your pasta at your house, what would also help thicken this sauce and help speed it is when you're done with your pasta and you drain it. I mean, one of the most important things is you don't rinse your pasta.
Right.
And if you were to take that pasta and you dumped it into that sauce where Jim's at right now, where he might need to let it reduce a little bit more to get his consistency.
Yeah.
If you dumped the pasta right when it was done, the starch from the pasta would help, and it would probably finish that sauce off and put it out a lot quicker.
Well, we are very, very close here. The mushrooms are cooking up nicely.
And it's starting to, man, this whole place is smelling delicious. And what consistency do you look for? Like almost like a coating of the...
Yeah, coating of the spoon, but you know, you want to make sure that it's going to be thick enough to stick to the pasta and the meal. A nice creamy, like almost like the same creaminess as an Alfredo sauce or something like that. And one little trick too to know, if you do happen to get distracted or it goes a little too far, you can add a little heavy cream into it and it'll bind it right back up. Believe it or not, if it starts to separate. All right, we're getting very close here.
Now I see you're not adding the lobster yet to the very end.
Till the very, very end. Lobster's already cooked. And if you were to put it in the beginning, it would get pretty tough.
Right.
If you do it toward the end, it sort of tenderizes the lobster a little bit and gives it that nice creamy, put that creamy flavor right into it. But it still has the right consistency.
Yep. And again, if you're spending all that money, I think lobster out of the shell is probably like almost $40 a pound.
Yeah.
You're spending that kind of money. You don't want to overcook your lobster.
Right.
You know, you want to put it in at the end just to get it up to temperature, and that's going to be pretty much the last thing you do for this dish.
Besides, the person you're cooking it for, your partner or whoever, you want to impress them. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You want them to... You can have looks and you can have charm, but if you know how to cook, that's long term, baby.
That makes up for those other things. Thank God we're good at cooking.
Yep. Thank God we can cook. All right, now it's at this beautiful,
Yep, you can see
beautiful little, it's getting nice, and so we're going to add in the lobster meat. Oh, yeah.
That's some good looking stuff right there. Lobster's a treat. It definitely is when you get to have it.
Yep. But like I said, works good with scallops, clams. I'm sure it would be crab or a combination. Just get a little bit of everything.
Yep.
Nice little seafood Madeira. All right, we got that nice and hot now. Well, the lobster's heated up nicely. Now, the only other thing I always did, and I do like to do it, is just a little fresh chopped parsley at the end, right at the end. So now we have our cooked pasta right there. Oh, look at that.
That's what I'm talking about. Look.
And there you go. And there's our lobster Madeira. Whoop, careful. Sliding off that plate. Yeah.
Good catch.
So there, well, I hope we gave you guys, I hope we gave everybody out there a couple of good ideas. We are going to be back again. Well, I don't know, a few more weeks we'll be back. We're going to do this. We're going to do this on a regular basis because people seem to like it. We enjoy the hell out of it, and you know, it's nice to share. It's nice to share.
I mean, we're shooting for what, every 6 weeks? I mean,
But,
give or take.
Yeah.
But that's the plan.
You know, we'll do some seasonal things, stuff like that. Please give us your feedback and your comments too.
Is there anything you'd like to see us make, or us? You know, would be glad to do something from one of your suggestions too.
And we'll keep you informed of when we're coming up next and what we're going to be doing. All right. So that's it for Books and Beyond today, the Beyond section today. Bryan, thank you very much again.
No, thank you.
It was great.
I appreciate it.
And see you next time.
And thank you.